being the person that's different is such a value. So don't lean into that more. Don't shy away from that, because actually diversity is such a big thing in organizations. And one of the biggest things I think is diversity of thought and having people think differently. So really kind of lean into that. Hello and welcome to Self-Discovery in Good Company. Hi, Stace.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing just great, Stace. Thank you very much. It's lovely to see you on such a big week for you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I
Congratulations.
left my job this week, my full-time job, which is very exciting. Honestly, though, because I had a 6-month notice, basically. By the end, the last 3 months, it was anytime anyone had a conversation with me, I felt so guilty because all they spoke about. And then I'd go into any meeting and they were like, so not long. And I'd be like, well, another 2 months. Got to the stage where I was like, they must just be like, oh, piss off.
I know.
Do you know what I mean?
I know, you're eking it out. You are dragging this out.
Totally. It's too long a notice period, but you live and you learn.
That is a long notice period. But this is it, man. This is it. You're out in the big bad world doing your own thing, and we are all so lucky. It's amazing. How are you feeling about it? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling really, really positive about it. I've not had any doubt or anything. I think I'm just because I just feel so drawn to do it, and I just feel like all signs have pointed me in this direction. And
absolutely,
yeah, just amazing. And I'm just like, even like I'd think, oh, maybe I should contact this person. I'd go on LinkedIn. That'd be the first thing I'd see. I'd have a conversation with someone would mention them and then speak to them. And they're like, oh, actually, yeah, we could do some work with you. So I honestly feel like I'm so trusting in all the stuff that I believe about it. And I'm very excited.
It is so your time, and you're just doing so well across like all of your social channels, and you're made for this. You're absolutely made for this. I know it's going to be such a huge success. So I'm just so delighted that you've done it and you're a way to do it. So do you have space to take on coaching clients?
I typically take on like 1 or 2 personal coaching clients per month. So a lot of the people that I work with have things that they're working through, whether it be wanting a new job, whether it be just wanting to find a bit more joy in their lives, finishing a relationship and try to find kind of their identity after that, starting their business and just not knowing really where to start with that and needing a bit of guidance with that. So it's really, really varied. Anything that you kind of come into coaching with, the framework works for anything really. So that is what I'm doing from a personal coaching client perspective. And a lot of what I do in the Personal Growth Collective is based around positive psychology, spirituality, which we're big on, and inspired action. So that's kind of the 3 pillars that I do around it. So like, I'm not for everyone, because coach, that's a very personal thing. So that's what we do kind of in the chemistry calls to just work out whether it's
chemistry call. Oh, I like that.
Our discovery call. It's probably.
Oh no, I think chemistry is better. Oh, I love it. That is amazing.
But yeah. So we do those, and then I'm also doing work in corporate. So I'm doing like leadership development stuff, coaching, team coaching. I'm particularly interested in women, as we are in the Personal Growth Collective. So we're doing, and that's what the Marsha project is, and we've got more stuff kind of that we're working on in the background coming in that space. And also working with companies, maybe like smaller companies who don't have like L&D talent management teams, but they were interested in developing a bit of a strategy or having a bit more of a focus on it, and working with some companies on that as well. So I just feel so lucky and just so inspired to do it. So
you're going to smash it, babe. But I'm so proud of you.
I'll put a big dose of reality in here. Like my first day, everyone's like, what did your first day look like? I actually spent quite a lot of time doing home admin stuff, like paying nursery fees, sorting out a leaking roof that I have, all this sort of stuff. And then my second day I spent, which Stacey knows about, with a sewer issue. So super glamorous here.
Yeah. That is
really
shit.
living at that high end. Literal shit. So
honestly.
But anyway, apart from that, my friend, bless her, was like, God, what's the universe got to say about that? And I'm like, yeah, I'm taking it as some sort of sign. I'm not really sure at this point in time what it is.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm allowed to just be annoyed about it today, though, and then I'll figure out what the sign is. That is so annoying, babe. But
I know.
It's, I mean, I can't find the positive in it yet, but when I do, I'll let you know.
Let me know. Yeah,
I will.
I'd really appreciate that.
But other than mopping up shit and doing your life admin, you are open to any sort of anyone who wants to slide into your DMs and do and work on themselves and anything like that. And yeah, it's just amazing.
I'm doing a couple like lunch and learns for companies and things like that. So if there's anything that you're interested in, then please do slip into my DM, send me an email.
Love that. Do it. That'll be amazing. Do it. Make sure you follow her on LinkedIn and everything, because she is like just giving the best kind of advice. And yeah, you're just ace. You're rocking it, girl.
And how's your week been? You're so kind.
My week has been fine. Just kind of in the middle of liaising with work about returning to work. My date's kind of been pushed back a little bit because, well, childcare issues, because, you know, obviously, why would it be straightforward? Why would be returning to work after having twins be straightforward? So I'm just kind of in the process of trying to figure out when I am actually going back. So yeah, it's been a little bit stressful here, but it's all good. It's all going to work out fine. I put my trust in the universe and said, no, this is obviously how it's meant to go. This is all part of the grand plan. So I'm just trying to trust in it and know that it's all going to work out exactly as it should. That's kind of what I've been focusing on this week. Yeah, but we also, oh, no.
On you go.
No, I was just going to say, but, you know, I'd had a really stressful week, but then we had finally got our night together, not just us, our partners and my sister and her husband. We eventually got our night together that we've been planning since start of the year, maybe. I don't know.
It was literally January, because I actually, Harper's dad asked if I could swap, and I was like, honestly, I can't, because this has been in the diary since January.
Yeah. So absolutely can't. But we finally got our night. And
it was so fun.
It was so nice. It was really nice. And we got
before we like that morning, Stacey like text and she's like, right, Lou, looking forward to tonight. I've got stuff in. Won't be a late one for me because I'm up at 6 with the boys. And I'm like, oh no, don't worry. My boyfriend's up early for taking his kids to football. I have a 3-hour workshop and then we're out again on Saturday night as well. Don't worry, that's fine. Started home like 12:30 at night.
No.
And I could have kept going. That's my issue. My issue is that because I just have so much fun and I'm like chatting and laughing. And
it's so funny because I mean, I am usually the person that is like, right, Gav, like, you know, if these people are not gone by 11, I need you to chuck them out. Like, you know, I am that person that's like, I'd like to go to I didn't even check the time. That is how much fun I was having. Like, so I need you to
needed it.
I need you to take that as the biggest compliment ever. That it was you guys that said to me, you were like, oh my God, it's after midnight. I was like, are you joking? I was having such a nice time that I didn't even want to chuck you out of my house, because normally I'm like the person that disappears upstairs, like maybe doesn't come back or puts on my pajamas as the cue to be like, right guys, I'm in my jammies, get out.
Strong cue. I've done that before. Or have you seen those banners? It was like please leave by 9 or something.
Yeah, I mean, 9 is a push. Like, you know, I'd
9
be
is a
like,
push.
I'd
And
be
we only
like,
got
come
there
on,
at
guys.
7:30.
Exactly. But we just
And
had.
I was on time. I was actually on time, which
believe
everyone
it.
was mind blown. I know.
My sister came in and was like, what are you doing here? You're never here on time.
I don't think in my whole life, and I mean, I went to uni with your sister for 5 years. I've since actually worked with her. This is like the first time we haven't been in uni or worked together. I have never been before her ever. I don't think.
Oh, never.
I
Never. She was genuinely
offer
shocked.
me a glass of Prosecco, a little crisp and a chocolate, and I'm on time.
Oh, honestly, it was so needed after a busy, stressful kind of week. But I think I indulged a little bit too much in the wine, I would say. I was just pouring it like it was juice. I was like, right, come on, seize another one. And I was actually feeling a little bit rough the next day. I think I was still drunk when I gave the boys their breakfast at 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't really remember doing it.
Oh, well, you killed it. You were great.
It was fabulous. It was fabulous. And should we tell everyone, Stacey, that we have, before we get into the nitty gritty of what we're talking about this week, this is actually our second attempt at recording this podcast, because we have recorded this podcast. We did it last week or the week before? Can't remember.
2 weeks ago.
And when it came back, it turned out that like my microphone or something wasn't switched off. And you sounded great, but I sounded like I was phoning up to a radio station competition being like, the answer is C. Yes, you've won £100.
I used to be obsessed with them when I was younger. I used to live for radio competitions.
Honestly, things like that. It's because you'll know, because the place that we would get our nails done, they always have a bit of North Sound on in the background,
and they've always entered the competitions.
They've always got a competition.
I would love it if the girls actually won when one of us was there one day.
Honestly, so
I would love that.
I just feel like that's what I sounded like, and we were like, no, it's a good topic, but we cannot put this out because it just sounds like, you know, I've got some sort of like scarf wrapped around my head, like speaking into a microphone. So we were like, no, let's just do it again. So this should be familiar territory. It should be familiar territory for us, Stace, because we've answered all these questions.
It should be. And the thing is, we're answering your questions, so we didn't want to make that episode like,
I know, well, that was the
inaudible.
thing. So that was the thing.
That was the thing.
It would have been really easy to bin off an episode that I'm, you know, speaking my usual, like, you know, shit about. You know, it would have been really easy to be like, oh, do you know what? The world isn't going to miss that one. But this is like genuinely like good content that people were interested in and wanted coaching on. So we definitely had to re-record it. So let's pretend it's the first time and that all of this lovely information is brand new information.
I love it. I love it. Great. So you've got the questions and I'm going to answer them. But if I please want you to chip in, because you are so insightful and you've got great advice. You're always my coach. So please do chip in as well if there's anything that you want to add.
Thank you. I will. Let's start with the first question that we had. And this was about their fear of being considered weak or incompetent at work, Stace. Now, I'm sure lots of people feel like this at work, and it refers back probably to a little bit of that imposter syndrome we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, so it might kind of tie on nicely with that. So any thoughts, Stace, on how to deal with that?
Yes, definitely. So I would say, as Stacey says, a lot of this I think sits within kind of imposter syndrome, feeling like you're not enough, feeling like you're going to get found out because actually there's people that are much better than you are at your job. And so it's really a normal feeling. But there's a few things I think to think about. So the first thing I would really think about is there something or someone perhaps that's triggering you, especially in this area? So I was coaching someone recently and we got to the bottom of this with them, and they were really thinking about it, and they were like, do you know what? It's people with authority, because I've never felt smart enough. I've never felt intelligent enough. I wasn't, the most academic at school and blah, blah, blah. So then when you're faced with people that have the qualities that you don't think you have, then often you can feel inadequate. So I would really start to notice, like, when is it that you are feeling like this? Is it a certain event? Is it with a certain person? Is it actually, once a month hormone based, that you kind of like your hormones are kind of like playing up with your menstrual cycle, and it actually makes you feel like a bit more teary and vulnerable? Like, just notice it a bit more to try and get to kind of the depths of that. And then I would start thinking about, actually, so there's that thing, and we spoke about it on the podcast before, but it can be quite a gendered challenge, this, I would say. So if you take a job advert and a woman looked at that, they would feel like they had to have everything on that job advert. There's been research to suggest this. But a man might look at it and they would think, actually, 50%, that's fine, I'll take a punt at that. So actually, a lot of the time we don't go for opportunities, or we hold ourselves back for opportunities because we think we haven't done it all. But actually, when you're put into a position, promoted at work, for example, you haven't done that before. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're moving from a kind of individual contributor where you're not managing anyone, you're moving up to a team lead position and you're managing people. No wonder you feel incompetent, because you've not done it before.
Yes.
But the organization and your manager, whoever made the hiring decision, they believe that you're able to do it.
That's
so
really
true, isn't it?
That's so funny, because like I love when I get these little aha moments with you. But that is so true. Like, and it's something that I never really would have thought about before. You've never done this before. Like, if you've been promoted, and your boss and the people who have hired you know this, and they still want you to do the job. And like, nobody would expect you to start in a job and know everything. Like, nobody expects that.
No.
But why do we put that pressure on ourselves? Like, why?
And I actually remember like and I think there's something to do with, like, when you start out in your career, it's harder because there's this expectation that you haven't got a lot of career experience and you feel like you should know more than you do. But actually, when you get a bit further into your career and you get a bit more confident, like, I remember the first time I kind of said in a meeting, like, do you know what? I'm not really sure about that. I'm going to go away, but I'll go away and find out. Or I actually need to go and think on that further, just really think through the implications of that, because I'm not sure about that now. And I think we work in such a fast-paced environment that often there's this need for us to always have the answers or should know everything. But there's so much beauty in actually just being like, do you know what? I'm not sure, or I'm going to sit on the fence a bit with that one, because I'm not sure that this is the best decision.
I often find, and it's only with age, I think, and working in those sorts of environments, that quiet people are probably more confident. And, it takes a lot of confidence to sit quietly and listen to what other people are saying without just jumping in, trying to make it sound like you know what you're talking about or what you're saying. It takes a lot, actually, to sit there and listen to other people. And I think you have to be truly confident to be able to just sit there quietly and listen to what other people have to say, to then go away and think about it and then come back with your answer. Because who on earth makes a decision about anything there and then in that moment? Everyone takes time to mull things over. So I actually think it's not a sign of that you're being weak if you don't know answers to questions or anything like that, or you don't know what you're doing. I think it's actually that you're sitting there making like proper, like, basing it on like proper thought and judgment, and you're taking your time to make those decisions. Like, I actually think it's only in recent years that I've probably thought that. Like, before, I would have thought that you had to have the answer straight away and you can't go away and think about things, or what might people think if you don't know the answer straight away. But it actually takes quite a lot of confidence to say, actually, I'd like to go away and think about that.
That's so true. It takes a lot of confidence to say you don't know the answers,
Yeah.
but it's okay to actually not know the answers as long as you have the willingness to go and figure it out. And actually, if you're leading a team, and this is where, like, as you progress in your career and you're leading a team, you're doing less of the doing. So actually, on some occasions, the wrong thing to do is for you to make a decision, because you should really be like, do you know what? I'm not close enough to that. I'm going to need to go and speak with the team, get their thoughts, because I wouldn't want to make a judgment.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
I wouldn't want to use my kind of biases or my experience when I don't know enough about the topic. I need to go and come back to you on that. So yeah, like that, I think as well, like it's really thinking about, okay, you're in that role for a reason. People obviously think that you're capable of doing it. So consider, like, how can you change that narrative in your head to believe that more in yourself? So things you can do around thinking about what your strengths are, think about what you're good at. So actually, like, the best project managers don't actually perhaps need to know the depths of what happens on the project. They just need to be able to manage a team and have confidence in the team. So really thinking about it, and quite often what you see, particularly in roles where, like, you need to be really detail orientated. So like roles that I would be rubbish in, like finance, or honestly, I've got like the lowest detail orientation. I can do it when I need to, but this is the thing as well about knowing what your strengths are and what your areas that you're not good at are as well, because like I know I'm not great at that, so I can be good at it because I need to like focus more. So know what you're good at and believe, and start to kind of believe that more. And how you can understand that is through feedback from others. What are people saying to you? What do you notice about yourself? What consistently comes up as themes? And if you don't get it, ask for it as well. So you can start to kind of believe that narrative in your mind. What have you achieved? And something that I really encourage people to do is maybe sit down every year or something, and you could even, if you set objectives at work or something, or there's like a plan for the year or something, it's a good starting point to look at that and be like, right, what did I do this year? What am I proud of? What are the things that I've achieved? And start listing them down, because that helps you feel more competent in what you're doing, to stop that kind of voice in your head saying that you're not. And actually, something that I really love doing is like almost like calling that voice a name. So like I was coaching somebody and we called it Kim. And it was like that person, they were like, okay, Kim, thank you. Thanks for that comment. I don't need to listen to that. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing or whatever. So I think it's noticing that. And then of course, I'm going to come back to that kind of, how true is that statement?
What evidence do we? I love it.
What evidence do we? One of my coaches said that to me this week. They were like, and then I thought, you just appeared in my head. Like, what evidence do you have? I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be known for this. Like, what evidence do you have? And
that should be the name of your second podcast. What evidence do you have?
Totally. Because quite often, like, they can't tell me anything, or they'll say something and I'm like, okay, so, and you know what? You will fuck up. Everyone does.
Everyone does.
You will make a bad decision. I can think of one off the top of my head that I made in the last year, a wrong hiring decision. And I know that was wrong. And I actually knew that it was wrong at the time. But I think actually I didn't listen to that enough, and I listened to other people.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we weave into Personal Growth Collective more, is that's tapping into that intuition.
Yes.
And building more trust in yourself.
Yeah. And sitting with things. Like, you don't need to answer or respond to somebody straight away. There is nothing that says you have to do that. You can sit and have a moment. You can think about it. So just sit with it. Sit with it until you feel confident with it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's coaching for myself, like, there.
There we go. And for me. I honestly think nobody has had, no one really knows what they're doing in all aspects.
Yeah.
But what you need to focus on, what are your strengths, what are your skills, and how can you make sure that you're always willing to learn and be open to feedback so that you can continue to grow it. Because that's the only way that we evolve. And you will, if you stay who you are now, in 5 years' time, that's a risk, really.
It's so funny because for a long, long time, I would have always thought, like, I could never admit to not being as good at something. I thought I had to, if it was my job, I thought I had to be good at every part of it. But now, again, with age and experience, like, no, I don't have to. Like with the marketing I do, I am more creative. I am more like big picture thinking. Like, you know, I am like, you know, what do we want for this? I'm not the nitty gritty detail of it, like the research bit and that's not my side of marketing. Like I am not market research. I am not into that. I'm into like the big airy fairy stuff. Like, you know, obviously no surprises there. Like, you know, I love the big ideas and the big ticket stuff and the stuff that has an impact on that. And I would have thought, I always thought, oh, but I'm not so good at the research bit. You know, I'm not good with the numbers. I'm not good with the stats and I'm not interested in it. But now I'm like, I don't have to be. Like, you know, that can be somebody else's role within the team. Like, I don't have to do that bit.
No, and a good manager will understand what bits you are good at and what bits other people are good at and assign work in that way. Play to your strengths. That's, you know, play to your strengths, not so much your weaknesses. Know what your weaknesses are.
Yes.
And know that you know, you're never going to do everything in your job. You're not going to be super good at, and you're not going to, but no, okay, actually, I'm going to have to do a bit of market research. It's not what I love. So how can I actually like make it something that I enjoy more, or you work with someone who is really good at it, so I can like get them their assistance with it.
Yeah.
But like I delivered an executive leadership program. I've delivered it 5 times, and there was this one bit in it, and I honestly just couldn't understand it. So whoever I delivered the program with, it was always me and someone else. I was like, I'll do anything in this program, but I cannot do lead and lag indicators. That's what it was. Lead and lag indicators. Because I get myself, honest, I still don't. I get myself so tied up in knots with it that I honestly, and I would sit there and they would try, and to be honest, it's hard to explain. And I would look at like the people that were like on the class, and they would just be like, the workshop, they would just be like watching, like so confused. Some of them would get it. A lot of them would be confused. And I was able to say, guys, just so you know, I've heard this 5 times and this is why I'm not presenting this bit, because I still don't get it. And I think like people actually want people to be human and want people to be like, do you know what I mean?
Own it. You know, just own it. Yeah.
Own it. Just own it. Like if you don't understand something, just own it. Because I've been in meetings before and I've said, sorry, can I just ask a really silly question? And actually, it's not a silly question.
It's not a silly question. Can we just, everyone's thinking the same.
Or like, what's the purpose of this? Like, what are we trying to achieve? Honestly, how many times I've said that in meetings and folk are like, actually not really very sure, because you lose sight of it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure either, but we've said we're doing this, so we're doing this. And it's like, yeah, but what do we hope is going to be different? So sometimes I actually think like being the person that's different is such a value. So don't lean into that more. Don't shy away from that, because actually diversity is such a big thing in organizations. And one of the biggest things I think is diversity of thought and having people think differently.
Oh, amazing.
So really kind of lean into that.
It goes back to my favorite thing when you say, just own your shit. Own it. Just own your shit. I say that to my husband all the time. What? You haven't done that? Just own it. Just own it. Yeah, honestly.
Oh, I love that.
So, second question up. We've got, I don't know, this maybe leads on nicely from it. I'm not sure. We kind of maybe covered some of these bits, but how do you ensure what you have to say is purposeful and concise? So like in work meetings, speaking in front of senior management, like that sort of thing. How do you know that what you're saying is of value?
This is a very good question. So I think, first of all, I think it's recognizing like, well, how are you feeling in that situation? And is there a reason? Again, it's like delve a little bit further into it. So I've had examples of certain people that I've worked with, but I feel super comfortable with, and others that I always feel like I'm not good enough, or that, you know, that they're going to disagree with what I'm saying, or, you know, whatever. So, and actually that's never about them. That is always about you. It's always about you. And a lot of it's probably internalized and not perhaps truthful, but, you know, what is that telling you? So is it when you speak to a certain leadership team you feel like this? Is it because there's someone in that team that kind of triggers you, or you've had a bad experience with it? Whatever it is, just try and kind of figure out that and get to the bottom of it. And then again, it's about always telling yourself what is a more helpful narrative to that. So I think being like purposeful, it's always thinking about like, right, if you're going into a work meeting, for example, good meetings, and I've been in many bad meetings, you should kind of know what you're going to speak about. So it's maybe just spending about 5 minutes, 10 minutes before you go into that meeting, or looking at the agenda or whatever, and be like, right, let me just pull together my thoughts. Now, this is different for everyone, because if you're a more extroverted person, when you speak to think, and I do, if I'm making a decision, I will like phone up my boyfriend and I'll be like, right, can I just chat this? And I know what the answer is, but I just want to chat it through with him, so that he was like, yeah, no, I think you made the right call. Like, okay, that's great. That's fine. Yeah. And if you are more introverted, you will be more quiet and thoughtful before you speak.
That's me.
You will think before you speak.
I like to think about it and know exactly what I'm going to say and how I'm going to do it. Yeah, totally me.
Yeah. So in a meeting, I am going to be way more vocal than you. I think we just touched on that before, actually. I am going to be way more vocal than you, because actually, we could do this, and we could do this, and we could do this. And that's me just like getting out my ideas, whereas you're going to be sitting more quietly and be like, okay. Or you might not even have that thought within that meeting. And that's why we need to think about that when we're structuring meetings. And actually, if you have people in your team that are like that, and you know, you will, if you've got more than one person in your team, I'm sure, you know, odds are you're going to have some that are introverted, some that are extroverted. So even like sending out, this is the topic, I want you to have a think about this, blah, blah, blah. Or in a meeting, right, next meeting we're going to be talking about this. Let's just speak about it for 5 minutes and then come back with your ideas next week. So actually like being mindful about that. But if you're in the meeting, I think it's thinking about, or before you can, if you have the opportunity, what are some of the key messages? What are some of the main points? And write them down. And be clear on that in your head, so that you think, right, what am I wanting to say about here? What's the point that I want to make? Because actually, like, just speaking isn't perhaps going to make that point. And often, sometimes when you make a point, someone's not really perhaps going to listen as well. Like, you have to say things like 6 or 7 times before it actually sometimes gets through to people. So I think it's about like less can sometimes be more. Really listen, look out for like social cues and things like that, and, you know, look for your kind of entry to say things, and have a bit more faith in yourself. So sometimes, like, I think you'll be more, there's no one that is harder on yourself than yourself.
Yeah.
So you maybe think, I've been in meetings with people, or I've thought, oh my God, I totally waffle. Loads of the times when we do the podcast, right, we will be like, come off it. And I'll be like, if I spoke more than Stacey, which is this one, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I totally waffled. And you're like, I thought that was so good. I thought that was brilliant. And I've said it exactly the same the other way around. I was like, Stacey, once, remember, we recorded one, and I was like, and you were like, well, I think we should re-record it. Like, you messaged me afterwards, and I was like, go and just listen to it. I was like, because honestly, I really liked it. So like, you're your worst critic. And that's, again, calling out your Kim or whoever. It was like, maybe someone was a bitch to you at school or something, that you're like, that's what you name voice.
My one is called Jeff.
I love that. I love that, Jeff. So actually, like, don't sometimes worry, but if you do want to be more concise, less is more. Practice is perfect. Be thoughtful about what you want to say before. And also, like, be mindful of the time. So, you know, try and make sure that you're like, right, I'm going to try and get this point across. And this is practice. You know, I've got something I want to say. I'm going to practice, try to say this in like 30 seconds. And just do that out of the meeting. But I think the thing is, like, more practice and stuff like this actually makes perfect. Like, and you can build that skill of being more kind of succinct and purposeful. I remember someone had said to me that they were in team meetings, and they were like, right, everyone, we've got 2 minutes on the clock, you need to give your updates, go. And I'm not necessarily agree, I don't necessarily agree with that, because sometimes someone's got nothing to say, and sometimes some things, you know, needs a bit more time on the agenda. But I always think, like, kind of giving yourself a kind of, right, I'm going to practice being more succinct and getting that point across, and understanding what your strengths are. Because if one of your strengths is detail orientation, for example, you're going to want to get into all the detail in that conversation. I get emails from people at work who I worked with, and I don't work there anymore, so I said this to them. I will get an email and I'm like, oh my God, I can't read that. That is just far too long.
Yeah, exactly.
That is for tomorrow. I need to get a cup of tea and sit and read through it, or it'll sit in my inbox and I actually won't read it.
I hate those emails. I hate them.
So actually, like, trying to think about what the person that you're talking to needs out of it as well. So, like, do they need the detail? And maybe they do, but maybe you can give them a kind of, like, I'm just going to give you like a really quick overview, and if you want to delve more into the details, we can. So it's always like that thing about, you know, and ways to think about this is like, if you buy someone a birthday card, are you buying it for them or are you buying it for you? So, like, I would go in and buy a birthday card for someone that had like beige and like golds and like really pretty like that. But if I was to buy Harper a birthday card, she's wanting like a Disney princess on it, or Paw Patrol or something like that. So, like, think of it like that when you're thinking about messaging. Like, is this to satisfy my need to be able to show people that I know what I'm talking about, that I know the detail, or actually what do they need from me in this moment?
Oh my God, another pearl of wisdom right there. Oh my goodness.
And you can actually ask them. You could ask them, you know, what level of detail do you need for like this, or what are you expecting to get out of this meeting? I love that question.
Oh my God.
What are you hoping to get out of this meeting to make sure that I'm going to cover it?
I never would have like thought to ask that. But that's amazing.
Yeah,
that is really, that's good.
And if you don't know sometimes, rather than kind of speaking, kind of just pausing and being like, I'm not sure what is it you think? Oh, I love that one as well.
Yeah, really?
Because sometimes they don't know. They're like,
yeah, just trying to catch you out.
Yeah, exactly.
That was amazing. Thank you for that. We have one final question that we're going to go into.
One last one.
Yeah, one last one for tonight. Because you know me, I turn into a pumpkin at 10 o'clock. So
Stacey's got a filthy book to go read.
Honestly, I'm not even at the filthy bits yet. Honestly, it's taken an absolute age to get there. But in fairness, I fall asleep after reading 3 pages. If you are unfamiliar with A Court of Thorns and Roses, that is what I have been reading. And I didn't really realize when everyone was like, it's amazing, you need to read it. I didn't realize it was like fairy filth. And it was like about wolves and stuff like that. That's so not my bag. But here we are. I went into Waterstones and I bought
100 pages in.
Honestly, and I've had it for about 3 weeks now, but I can only read about 3 pages and then I'm asleep. So I've not reached the filth yet, Stacey. I will tell you when I get there.
Keep us posted. And if anyone listening has read it, you'll need to give Stacey some words of encouragement to keep going.
Oh, they will. Oh, honestly, yeah, I think it is becoming like one of those like it things of 2024. Everyone is flipping loving a bit of the fairy filth. So the fairy porn, as it's become affectionately known. Anyway, derailed that conversation there. We were speaking about something really important and insightful.
Yes.
And I'm belittling it. I do apologize. Our last question, it was one that actually came to you, wasn't it? And it was about it was all around self-belief. I don't actually have the question to hand. Perhaps you can.
Yeah, I've got this one. Yeah, so it was if you have belief issues, where do you start? So I think the first thing is to recognize that a lot of these self-belief issues are attached to childhood. There may be something that's happened, and if you do work on that, it's amazing what you can uncover. It could be a comment that was made to you when you were 7 years old that you can't even remember until you really delve into it, and you're like, oh my God, like that is exactly why I feel like that. So I think hold space for yourself to actually, a lot of this is attached to childhood, and it is really hard to work on. It's not impossible, but it's really, really hard to work on, and it's so rewarding if you do. So if you're thinking about this, I would just say that is amazing, like that you're going to take that step to actually try and change that narrative that you're telling yourself, because it can really, really hold you back from things.
Yeah.
So I would say write them down, try and get them out, try and understand them. You might want to, if you can afford to do some sort of therapy on it, or do some hypnotherapy. I'm a huge advocate of hypnotherapy because I think it goes into your subconscious in a way that nothing else I've done really does. And there's things that come up in there that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that because that happened, I can feel how sad I felt, or shamed I felt, or hurt I felt, and that I'm just constantly trying to work against that or whatever. So it's not cheap to do it, but it could be the best money you've ever spent. So, but if you can't afford that, then I would just try and just spend some time thinking about them. So write down what they are, maybe write down, go away a couple of days later, write down, do some meditation, really kind of like delve in, like, okay, what are some of the beliefs that I have, and challenge them. So you almost could do it. A way I've worked with clients before is write them down and then write down the examples or why you feel like that. So like, I am not enough. I am not lovable. Okay, show me examples of why that, why is that true? Do you have friends that love you? Yeah. Do you have family that love you? Yeah. Have you been in relationships before? Yeah. So just because you're not in a relationship now, is that meaning that you're not lovable? So actually write them down and write down why you think that, and really challenge yourself. And you know what? There might be examples of it. There might be somebody who said something to you, but that is their opinion, and how you take that is your responsibility. So almost kind of dump it out, get it all out, get it on a paper, and then start to think, maybe you're doing it line by line almost. Okay, what's a more helpful thing to tell myself? So I am lovable. I am lovable. I've got loads of people in my life that love me. Or, I'm not good enough. I am enough. I am absolutely enough. And if someone doesn't think that I'm enough, then they're not for me. So like, what are some of the things that you can tell yourself to kind of flip that narrative? And I would say like the age that we live in of social media and all of that, it's really hard that you compare yourself to other people all the time.
Yeah.
And it's not helpful.
No. It's a highlight reel. It's merely a highlight reel. Instagram, TikTok, all of it. People are only showing you their best bits. They're only showing you the best bits. You're comparing yourself to a snippet of their day, and that is it. They still have to go and do their washing. They still have to go pick their kids up from school. They still have to do the mundane tasks that we all do. You are merely seeing the highlights. So just be mindful.
Totally.
You are only seeing the perfect bits, because nobody puts up the rubbish stuff. Nobody does. So just remember that. And that was my thought on the highlights.
No, totally. Reel. Yeah, completely. And again, that is like, you are responsible for consuming that. So, I mean, I can, I scroll on Instagram, TikTok, like the best of them. Like, I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm just saying like, okay, if you're feeling that your self-belief issues are attached to somebody, because you're not in a relationship, let's just go there. Like, you're not in a relationship and you're really wanting to be in one and you can't find somebody and blah, blah. There's this thing that you can do, which is like glimmers. So this is a bit side note, but I'm just going to keep going with it. But like, if you see, so someone that is in a relationship, you have a choice to feel really envious or jealous or sad about that, or you deflect on your own situation and know that you're a human being. Of course you are. Whenever anything happens, you can equally be really happy for someone and still feel not great for yourself. But what you can do is be like, so celebrate that for the other person, because then you're like, oh my God, that's an example of the abundance mindset. Like, that's amazing. I'm so happy for you. I'm so glad that you found someone. I'm so glad that you're so happy and you're sending out that energy, and then hopefully that'll come back into you one day. But if you're finding it really hard and you're following this couple who online are like on all these holidays and having the best time and all these gifts and all this stuff that you feel demonstrates love, then maybe just don't follow that person.
Oh, you can unfollow anybody. It doesn't mean that you don't like them, you don't wish them well. It doesn't mean anything like that. It just means at this moment in time, you can choose not to follow it because you are responsible for what you consume. It is your responsibility to monitor it the way you would monitor what a child consumes on the internet. Like, you know, you've got to monitor and take responsibility for what you're consuming. So if it's not serving you, unfollow it for the time being. Mute it if you don't want to unfollow it. Like, just mute it so you don't see it if you're not in a place that you can do that.
Completely agree. So be really mindful of like self-comparison within that as well. And then set yourself kind of realistic goals. So I would set yourself things that you're going to like work on almost. So it's like, right, okay, I don't feel like I'm very good at presenting. I'm not a good presenter. Okay, I'm going to try and do it once a month to push myself out of my comfort zone. Or, you know, I'm not likable. Okay, well, I'm actually going to try and strike up conversations with some people, or you know, go to a club and try and like build up a few friendships with people, or reach out to people who I knew before. You know, do things that are actually going to challenge that norm and challenge that voice in your head. So set yourself realistic goals, not, you know, insanely silly goals, you know, like, right, I'm gonna, you know, do this every single day or anything like that, because no one is. So set yourself realistic goals. Try and adopt more of a positive I can mindset about it, because if you think you can't or you think you can, you're right.
I love that saying. You're right either way.
I love
you're
exactly
right either way.
I love that saying. Exactly. So, you know, maybe having a bit of a mantra around it. So like I am statements, because the way that works is that your brain takes in anything that it can't tell the difference between something
between
that
the
is
truth and a
factual
lie.
or not. Between the truth and a lie. So if you keep telling yourself, I am this or I am that, I am not like, no one likes me, I've got no, you know, I don't have real friends, I'm not good at my job, I'm ugly, you know, whatever it is, that is, your brain is taking that in and
It's
absorbing
like a sponge. It's like a sponge. So if you tell it that, it's going to start to believe that. But you can also change the script and tell it the exact opposite of that. You can.
I love that. Change the script.
You can.
Yeah.
And you're in charge of that.
So it's almost like just you are in charge of that. So notice, okay, thanks for that. But a more helpful thought is, and maybe there's a mantra around that, like, I am capable of anything, or I am reaching my goals, or I am creating the life that I want to create, or something like that, to really change the way that you see yourself. And even, you know, therapy is great for that. Coaching's great for this. Hypnotherapy is amazing for this. But if you can't afford those options, or counseling or anything, then maybe it's even just having a friend. Because I had someone that I'm coaching, and they basically said that they felt something, they spoke to people in work, they felt exactly the same. So I think a problem shared is a problem halved. And so having people that you can trust, that you can bounce things off of, or you can say, I'm having a wobbly day where I'm feeling like this, and they can give you a bit of a pep talk. There's nothing better.
Yeah, definitely. And you come away feeling so much better.
That, I think, is it.
That's the 3 questions we're answering on today's podcast. Thank you so much, Stacey. Really valuable insights. And I'm not going to lie, I think this was better than the muffled podcast that we recorded before.
That we've been. Well, you'll soon find out, because if we just put the muffled one out, because we do have it, then it wasn't as good. But yeah, no, I'm glad that we did this again, and we didn't get through everyone's questions, and we're sorry. We were quite purposeful. This is a bit of a work focused one in a way.
We wanted to
maybe the last one's a bit broader. But if you asked a question, I'm gonna just send a little voice note back with some coaching tips as well, because we want to make sure that we got back to everyone. And thank you so much, because we just thought we'd throw this out there as a bit of a, is there anything that you want to speak about? We'd love to do another one of these again. So please feel free to send them in to us. We're really kind of getting, and even before this episode started, we thought of like 3 other things that we want to cover in episodes. So we would love to hear your thoughts on that as well. So thank you so much for everyone that wrote in questions. We were so delighted with that.
Yay! Well, thank you, Stace. That was amazing. Really appreciate that. So thank you. Definitely some bits that I can take away as well.
Good. And even me for myself. So you sometimes have to tell yourself a few times before you believe it. So it's a good to have a reminder.
Exactly.
Bang on 10. Get up the stairs, Stace. Get that fairy porn out. Read your 3 pages.
And then I'll be asleep by 10:15. Fabulous.
I'm intrigued about your dreams when you get further into the novel after even 3 pages.
Oh, honestly, if it's really good, I'll do a podcast episode on it. Tell you all about it.
Okay. I am intrigued. I'll have to read it. Hopefully. Yeah.
Oh well, you'll have to buy your own copy because I'll be referring back to it if it's as good as they say it is.
Amazing. Okay. Have a gorgeous week. Thank you for listening, and we'll speak to you soon. Mwah. Bye. Bye.